Harry Welby-Cooke here from ActionCOACH, Business and Executive Coaching. And continuing in our coach interviews, really a great opportunity to get to know Corne Oosthuizen in a lot more detail. So Corne, thank you for joining us today and really looking forward to unpacking your journey and your story in more details.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks for the opportunity.
So Corne, you've got quite a colourful background before coming to ActionCOACH. You've done a range of different things in a corporate role. You've done some other different things. So maybe give us a rundown of what you've done before getting into ActionCOACH.
Maybe my background, I grew up on the East Rand of Joburg, that's maybe the colourful side of it. It was interesting, nonetheless. Then I obviously went and studied at Tukkies. And growing up in the 80s, that's a typical, it's army or corporate. There wasn't the opportunities the kids have today. So I went for the corporate side. And was probably 16 years in corporate. And then after getting tired of sitting in meetings all day and, with all the red tape involved, I left corporate. And I was transferred by the last company to the head office in Cape Town. That's where we landed up in, me and my wife landed up in Cape Town. And I never looked back. Excited to still be in Cape Town.
And after that corporate role, you ended up following one of your passions, which is wine, which is good for the industry. Nothing wrong with a good glass of wine. So tell us a little bit about that role after the corporate politics, the meetings, as you said, into the wine kind of industry that you morphed into first.
So the wine started, it was a big decision because it's security of a big corporate. But I've always had the passion of wine, even when I stayed in Pretoria. Our holidays was on the wine farms in Cape Town. So I went and did a certificate and then a 2-year diploma in wine, which covers the wines of the world. And I decided, let's make it more than a hobby. And I went into the wine industry, worked for a wine farm, responsible for sales in South Africa and up in Africa. Enjoyed it very much, but at that stage also the wine industry was under huge pressure. Exports were down, really tough market. So after 3 years, we also decided to part. But that's still a very big passion of mine, and obviously one of my goals is to get back into it, get more involved. I'm mentoring a student now in the wine industry, which is great fun. I've got a client in the wine industry, but hopefully, soon making my own wine. Would love that.
Good. So immediately before coming across ActionCOACH and becoming a full-time professional business coach, you're actually a business broker where you have the difficult task, I think, of taking something that is somebody's prized possession, their business, and trying to sell it, and all the challenges that come with that. So what were some of the things that you typically saw that weren't working as well when you were trying to sell a business and it made it really difficult to get the full value for the owner?
Yeah, it's spot on what you said. The business broking role introduced me firstly to business owners. I think that's where the passion comes for business owners. But selling your business is a very tricky and a lengthy process. So you need somebody to guide you through that. So I got certified as a business broker, and it became evident very quickly that the first step in selling a business is completing a business valuation. And then I saw a lot of the disappointed faces when we actually came up with what's the market related selling price. People were expecting more, and the main reason why they were not getting what they wanted, because you would always see that some areas in the business would run like clockwork, and there were always areas that weren't, which is normal because we're all different. I may be a more sociable marketing person, you may be better in finance, whatever the story is. So even there, I started asking myself, how can I assist business owners to get, to assist them so that all areas in the business can run to its full potential, so they ultimately can get the best price for the business. And I think that's where the whole coaching maybe seed started. At that stage, I think that's where the seed was planted, and then a colleague of mine introduced me to ActionCOACH, and that was a journey. But in business broking itself, you see it every day. especially when you want to do due diligence, one of the areas where that's really stands out for me, and every time, in the majority of the cases where the business owner is the business, you cannot separate the two. So there's really not a business to sell at that point, and you always get to a deal where the business owner must be, stay on for another 2-3 years, and it gets messy. So it's to all the systems are in place, everything's running like it should be, very much like our process in ActionCOACH. But it was the minority. Only then and now you came across those businesses. So I think that's how the whole coaching idea can started, or the journey started.
Yeah. And whilst most people don't necessarily go into business thinking about the sell, they follow their passion, they see an opportunity, they have some skills or experience. At some stage, one gets to that point, and as you rightfully said, you can't sell the person with the business, and therefore you don't always get full value. So that planted the seed. You saw the mistakes people were making, and as you said, you wanted to get more directly involved. So what are the typical things, if you look at the clients that you coach, what are the typical mistakes that businesses are making that you as a business coach get to help them through?
Okay, like I mentioned, the first one already, they're too involved in every area of the business. They build the business, they employ people, so they're building a team, but they're micromanaging the team. They're not relying on systems to do the work for them. So, if you've got systems in place, it gives you more, it frees up more time, but it's also gives a lot of guidelines on how the business is run. So if you want to sell your business one day, you can actually hand over a operation manual and say, well, these are my systems, this is how my business works. And normally that's not in place. And then the typical one where we've got a lot of wins is how they spend their time. Business only sitting with, I started with a client and he was doing 2 weeks of admin in a month. I said, but business owners should be out there focusing on growth activities, getting business, building relationships and keeping the business. Get business, keep the business, not sitting with admin. So I think a typical mistake is not to outsource specialized tasks to the experts. Get yourself a good accountant, get yourself maybe a good admin person. If there's HR work, not all HR experts, give that to someone that's specialized. To get into that mindset of, build a network from people that can support me so I can look after the really what I call the growth activities in the business. So that's a typical mistakes you see in all the businesses. But time is a big one. We all, and even if you stand around the braai, time is flying. There's not enough hours in the day, and we know, in ActionCOACH that there's ways to manage that. And there's ways to do it better. So those are the typical mistakes. The basics that can be done better.
Absolutely. So very much the structure and the systems in the business, and re-looking at priorities and time allocation, because it is a limited resource. So I'm an existing business. I've had a business a long time. I've been doing it for many years. The debate is sometimes, probably could do a little bit better, but now I must pay a coach and I must work and put effort in, and coaching by nature is not necessarily an easy journey, especially in the beginning. Why would I take on a coach? What would I have to get right in my mind to consider I need somebody from outside like yourself to work with me to take this business to the next level?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very much like we use the example of sports. Tiger Woods at one point had 3 coaches. Just watching them in the driving range, and they're all looking at other aspects of his swing and his stance or whatever. It's that whole theory of somebody else looking in that's been trained and has got knowledge, skills, and experience to make a difference. And then also, as an action coach, I'm also a businessman. I'm also building my own business. So, our clients can relate to us. And the other thing is, which I find that, I did end of last year ask my clients, what's the value that you get out of business? And what comes through very strong is, number one, you keep me focused on the activities that I need to complete. And so you keep me accountable. And the other area is you've got a soundboard for somebody to bounce ideas off, ask advice. or somebody just, they can ask the right questions. You know, should I go left, right, or, you know, are we in the right path? Because the reality is, it's a very lonely profession, if you want to call it, being a business owner. You know, you don't really want to alarm your wife or your husband, so there's not a lot of business talk at the end of the day. Your friends only care so much, you know, about your business that you don't want to talk about it the whole day. So who do you speak to? You don't want to speak to your team and you know, vent on your team, because you also don't want to concern them. So very good to have somebody as a soundboard to not only listen, but also bring fresh ideas and approaches, whatever, you know, what we've got in Action Coach to the table. So that would be my reasons. You know, that's why some of us, with, you know, even being a coach, there's a lot of us that's got our own coaches, precisely for the same reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's that authenticity and that congruency, because as you rightfully said, you also run a business, so you can relate. And no disrespect to the professors out there, but the professors wagging their fingers and telling people what to do, you know, haven't always done it themselves, and you're doing it yourself, and you're being coached yourself, so you understand that process, which is the real benefit for the client. So think of maybe a highlight. What's one of the success stories that you've had in dealing with an entrepreneur? When you look back at it, you go, geez, I'm really excited about that one. I'm really proud of what we've managed to do there.
I think I've only been at it for a few years, but I think, you know, the biggest highlight normally is when you start working with a client, and it's a process that you start, is when you start to see the results. You know, the sales are up, or the team is working more efficiently, or the owner's got time to maybe on a Wednesday afternoon go spend time with his family. It's normally, for me, it's the small ones. Yeah, you get the 45% increase in sales quarter on quarter. That's fantastic. And we are there for results. But for me, it's the small things. You know, it's the time wins. It's the team wins. It's the culture wins. And suddenly the owner starts seeing, but you know what? So I'm starting to the business is starting to perform. And now my personal goals are a lot more realistic. Now, you know, if I can achieve that, and my business is making more money, I've got more options. So for me, it's those small little wins that add up. And it's great. You know, it's good when you come to a client meeting and they thank you and they say, well, thanks for the difference you made. Yeah, and sometimes you're not the favorite person because you keep them accountable, but it's good to see, you know, progress and results.
And you have to love an action coach that, you know, can talk through a conversation like you just did and throw in their 45% quarter on quarter growth. And, you know, we just exclude that and we focus on the little things, because you know, we are in that privileged position that we get to see huge transformations, huge numbers, which is not the norm, but it's the love almost of people and that transformation. And that's where the little things are quite impactful, because it's the love for people and the business and bringing that together that really works, because people run businesses. And you mentioned something interesting that maybe unpack on, your personal goals. And that's something people sometimes don't understand around business coaching. You know, I'm coaching a person, people run businesses, yet, you know, sometimes the people are neglected, the owner's neglected, their own goals, their own personal capacity is neglected in favor of the business. So how do you blend both the person, the individual, the personal goals with the business growth, you know, and bring those two together?
I think it's, you know, I would say when anybody that started a business had a dream, and they sometimes forget about that dream because they get, you know, busy in the business and the challenges. It's getting out that whole thinking of, you know, why did you start in the first place? Where did you want to go with this? What were your dreams? And it could be anything from, you know, I want to provide for my family, to I want to travel, or I want more time to play golf, I wish. But it's you cannot remove the person from the business, because, you know, and as we always say, a business is a vehicle for you to achieve your personal goals. So yes, we actually coach business coaching, but we very much, there's a lot of focus on the owner as well, or the manager, or whoever's, you know, in charge of the business. Because if you if that person is very clear on why they running a business and what they want to achieve with that at a personal level, I think it becomes more fun as well. You know, if I make my targets that I'm going to use a cliche example, to Mauritius, in July next year, COVID allowing that. But then it becomes fun because now I'm working to something that I actually love. I've got a goal. I want to go see the next World Cup that the Springboks do. I think they're back in France. So it's some goals that you can set for yourself, and you plan that. But like you said, you can't remove the person from the business. We're not robots, and we're definitely not there to only work, these ridiculous hours. We're there to have quality of life as well.
Yeah, I think a business is and should be designed to serve the business owner, and that's often how we think we go into business. We get distracted by all this stuff, but you talked about fun. I think coaching helps people fall back in love with their business, back in love with the original thought. And if it's serving them, the recipe works to go to that next level quite quickly and quite easily.
Sure.
So we've been through a difficult patch globally, economically, with the virus, the pandemic, all those kind of things. So what's maybe a frustration that you have at the moment as you grow your business, as you interact with more business owners and entrepreneurs? What's maybe a frustration that you have dealing with these people every day?
Yeah, I think a big frustration is just I hate speaking about it, but because it's a conversation started everywhere these days. But the whole COVID impact. I think it's a few months after I signed my first client, we had the hard lockdown, and I saw, we all saw firsthand the impact that it had on businesses. Some businesses didn't make it, didn't survive it, and for us as coaches, we hate that. But it's the frustration of owners need to take accountability and responsibility and move on. There's still a lot of money out there. There's still a lot of strategies that you put in place. You can go in different directions with your business instead of just hanging, being reactive instead of being proactive. I think that's my biggest frustration. And it maybe speaks to mindset. It maybe speaks to, where you are and how emotionally fatigued business owners are after, let's say, the last, let's call it 2 years. That's my frustration. It's just, when business owners hang back and sit back, and they're not, they're not looking after themselves emotionally and at a mindset level to get the plans in place to move forward, because they owe it to themselves, they owe it to their families, they owe it to the team. That's a bit of my frustration. We've seen it where we, especially, and we still do, we put a lot of free webinars out there, and you especially do a lot of work on, lunchtime webinars, and people are just not engaging. It's free, brilliant information that's in front of you, and people are not locking into that. So I speak a lot about to business owners about, come through the change curve, move on, start being proactive, and take in as much as possible and move forward.
Yeah, I think the danger with entrepreneurs in general is they tend to be positive, passionate, hardworking people, and therefore, despite their reality, whether it's good or bad, they're not looking for solutions. They're not going to Google and typing in their cash flow frustration or their team frustration or the time frustration.
Okay.
They just wake up earlier tomorrow morning, work harder, hoping that it's going to get better. So if I'm listening to this, I'm a business owner, I'm listening to this, I'm going, well, yeah, maybe I do need to engage with somebody. Maybe I do need that outside perspective. Maybe I have become stale, or I'm not looking after myself, as you rightly said. And I'm thinking about working with you in particular now, Corne. What do you think you bring to the table that's maybe unique, either in your abilities, but also in your passion and your purpose and your why, as being an action coach, business coach, that will be my benefit as the client at the end of the day?
I think it's when I started with ActionCOACH, I think I thought it's only going to be business information, a lot of theory, but I realized quicker that it changed me as a person. It made me look at the world out there differently. It gave me the confidence to start my own business. From a personal approach, I'm a people's person. That's why COVID frustrated the hell out of me. I want to get out there. I get my energy from people. So we coach the same system that we believe in, but I think I bring a different style to it. I've got more the people-oriented approach to the coaching, and then obviously years of knowledge, skills, and experience. You never know, but no, it's not. Being a business broker for 8 years, there's a lot I learned there that good information I could bring to the table. But at the end of the day, you want somebody that keeps you accountable, focused, but that's got your back. Because coaching is a journey. It's not something you just switch on and it's 2 classes and here's your fall and there you go. Everything is linky-dory. It's a journey. It's going to be ups and downs, but you know that the coach has got your back. And they kind of beside you, and that's what I like about the whole coaching side of it. Is walking that path and that journey with a client. We sometimes refer to as an unreasonable friend, because if I need to keep you accountable, I need to be honest as well. There's not just going to be a friendly relationship. We're going to do planning. We're going to focus on areas, and we're going to drive results. But whilst we're doing that, I think the relationship's important, and geez, you need to have fun along the way. Life is too serious at this point. So, I always say to you, and even at ActionCOACH, if you're unsure, I offer a lot of my colleagues, we offer complimentary sessions. Maybe book one and see what it's like. Is it for you? Yeah, it's people to just connect. We're there to help.
Yeah, I think you started by saying, coaching journey changes you as an individual, and I think that's always the case. It transforms the individual that is the business coach. But I think you summed it up nicely with your approach. Very much a people's focused, a nurturing, supportive nature to you and to the relationship and the engagement, and very high value on the relationship. Yet at the same time, the accountability, the firmness, we have to get results. And when you blend those two whilst having fun, I think that's what the important thing is. So if you're in business thinking about getting a coach, as Corne rightly said, sign up for a complimentary session, have that discussion, get that external input, and more importantly, take action on whatever comes from that, whether the action is to sign up with Corne or the action is to go fix your finances, have a conversation with an underperforming staff member, whatever it may be. There's a range of benefits from that. So as always, Corne, thank you for your time. We have the privilege of attracting the most wonderful, most experienced, most purposeful people into this business, and you are one of them for sure. So thank you for joining us and for unpacking a lot more of the reasons behind why you're an action coach and what you do at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Ari. I enjoyed the session. It felt like 3 minutes. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thanks, Corne.
Thanks, Ari. Yes.